أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Surah Mutaffiffeen, verse number 15 onwards. كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون ثم إنهم لصال الجحيم ثم يقال هذا الذي كنتم به تكذبون. No, indeed, they will be alienated from their Lord on that day. Then they will indeed enter hell. Then told, this is what you used to deny. Continuing with the plight of those people whose book or whose decree is destined for Sijjin, the Fujjar, the wrongdoers. One of other very, very miserable plight that they have is that they are mahjub from their Lord. It means that they cannot see the Lord. Here it's written alienated because probably the translator doesn't want to use the word seeing. But hijab is a veil. So mahjub is someone who's behind a veil, who cannot see from behind a veil. That is the meaning of mahjub. So they are mahjub from their Lord on that day. Before that, it was said that كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Their hearts have been covered by what they have been earning, but by what they used to do. I think these verses, couple of verses here, is a very good witness that the vision which is mentioned on the Day of Judgment about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the vision of the heart, not vision of by eyes. Because in the previous verse it says that their hearts have been solid, have been covered by their actions. Rain is a sort of solid or turf which covers something. This is rain. And rana ala qulubihim means their hearts have been completely darkened, blackened by their actions, and that is why they are mahjub from their Lord. So it shows that this is the vision of the heart on that day. So all these discussions and arguments that we have in Islamic theology since the old days about whether the mu'minun can see their Lord on the Day of Judgment or they cannot see, I think is a futile argument, because whatever is mentioned in the Quran about watching the Lord, looking at the Lord, seeing the Lord, it all goes back to the vision of the heart. The thing that we also can somehow experience from experience of people of high quality, muqarrabun, that they have a vision of the heart of the Lord. And it's completely different from seeing by the eyes. That is one point. However, there is another problem with this verse. كَلَّا إِنَّهُمْ عَنْ رَبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. They will be behind a veil, so they cannot see their Lord. Their hearts are veiled somehow, so they cannot see the Lord. The problem is that other verses of the Quran tell us that on that day, everyone can see very, very clearly the Lord, that vision of the heart. Everyone, whether a mu'min or a kafir, they know that the mulk belongs to Allah. They know that the milk belongs to Allah. Malik yawmuddin, He is the owner on the Day of Judgment. That means everyone would see it. He is, of course, owner from the eternity to eternity. But everyone can see that on that day. And Malik yawmuddin, He is the king. He rules only. Nothing. There is no shafi' between Him and other things, especially this is visible on the Day of Judgment. Whatever we see working as mediators here in this world, you want heat, you need fire, on that day you would see that heat comes directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever in this world we think is caused by other things. Of course, things are not caused by other things. Everything is caused by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other things prepare it, but we cannot see it. We think other things cause things in this world. On that day, everyone can see that. And also, in many verses we have that, not only that, everyone can see that Allah is the final truth. وَيَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقُّ الْمُبِينُ in Surah Nur, يَوْمَئِذٍ يُوَفِّيهِمُ اللَّهُ دِينَهُمُ الْحَقِّ. On that day, Allah gives them their due reward, the reward which is really haqq for them. وَيَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقُّ الْمُبِينُ. And they would know that Allah is the manifest truth. This manifest truth, this manifestation which comes on the day of judgment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or for example, in Surah Fajr we have وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. Your Lord will come. Of course, Lord does not go or come. However, it means that it manifests itself in a way that you think that he has come. He was absent up till now he is present, so everyone can see him. So, if that is the case, what is the meaning of إِنَّهُمْ أَرَّبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ? They are veiled from their Lord on that day. That is why most exegetes have described this verse or interpreted it as إِنَّهُمْ عَنْ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. They are veiled from the mercy of their Lord, not from their Lord. The Lord they can see. However, the problem is that, for example, we have وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَى رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ وَوُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَلَيْهَا غَبَرَةٌ تَرْهَقُهَا قَتَرَةٌ. Some faces on that day are fresh. You would see freshness in it because they are looking at their Lord. And other faces are dark, are gloomy because they cannot look at their Lord. The problem is the contradiction that comes here with those verses which say, the verse which says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will manifest himself as Haqqul Mubin on that day and everyone can see it, and the verses which says some people cannot see him. And as I said, some say that this is Rahmatu Rabbihim, but what we can say, not to actually add anything to the verse the way it is, إِنَّهُمْ عَنْ رَبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ, is that yes, although they see Haqq as manifest truth, although they see that the mulk and the milk belong to him, however, they cannot see the beauty, the nobility of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is their plight. It's just like someone who can see things but cannot see behind it, what is behind. It's just like us in this world. Usually in this world, although Allah is manifest, we are veiled from him. We can see things, but we cannot see signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot see behind things, and therefore we cannot see the glory of Allah, we cannot see karama of Allah, we cannot see rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we are veiled. Now on that day, it wouldn't be the same thing because Allah is manifest in everything. Whatever you do, whatever you touch, you would see the presence of Allah there. However, you wouldn't see the beauty. You wouldn't see the mercy, as some exegetes have said. And therefore, the contradiction is removed by taking this type of compromise between the verses. Anyhow, إِنَّهُمْ أَرَّبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. This is, of course, a big misery for them. ثُمَّ إِنَّهُمْ لَصَالُو الْجَحِيمِ. And more. The most, of course, miserable thing for them, as is mentioned here, is not going to hell. The most miserable thing is that they are veiled from their Lord. إِنَّهُمْ عَنْ رَبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. Then, of course, there is another misery for them. this then doesn't mean that first they are mahjub, they are veiled, and then afterwards they are told to go to hell. No, this means that these are somehow graded miseries. The biggest misery is that they are veiled from their Lord. Then another misery which comes after that, ثُمَّ إِنَّهُمْ لَصَالُو الْجَحِيمِ. Then they will indeed enter hell. Then another misery for them is that they would realize that this is the fruit of the life that they wasted in this world. This is another misery for them. Being veiled from the Lord is the highest misery. Entering hell and being burnt in there is the second misery. And the third misery is that they know that this is what they themselves have brought upon their souls and their bodies. ثُمَّ يُقَالُ هَذَا الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تُكَذِّبُونَ. Then told, this is what you used to deny, and that denial, what you denied, have led you to come here. And of course, it makes the misery stronger because they are told, they are reminded all the time. It's not known who says this. The angels would tell them, their conscience would tell them. They're all the time told that this is what you used to deny, and that denial brought you here. Now, this is the plight of the people who go to Sijjin, or whose plight, whose decree of destiny is in Sijjin, the vicious one, Fujjar. كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين وما أدراك ما عليون كتاب مرقوم. No, indeed, the record of the pious is indeed in the Illiyun. And what will show you what is Illiyun? It is a written record, or as we said, I think we discussed this when we were talking about Kitabul Fujjar. It might not mean record, it might mean maktub, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The destiny of Abrar is in Aliyin that we discussed before, and again, explaining Aliyun is very difficult, so I would not explain what it is. You cannot grasp. However, it is a written destiny or a written record. Now, Abrar are those who, Abrar is the plural of Bar. Bar is Bar or Bar, someone whose nature is good. Because usually what we do defines our nature. And if we always do good, then our nature is defined to be good. If we always do evil, then our nature is defined to be evil. It is not the other way around, that we think that someone whose nature is evil always does evil, and someone whose nature is good always does good. According to the Quranic literature, it is the other way around. If you always do good, then that defines your nature, that creates your nature. Your nature is created by your actions. And the other way around, if you always do evil, your nature is defined to be evil. So Abrar are those whose nature, eventually, at the end of their lives, when someone wants to define them, these are Abrar. Now, Kitabul Abrar are in Aliyyin. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا عِلِّيُّونَ كِتَابٌ مَرْقُومٌ. Now, there is one difference here with Illiyun, and that is يَشْهَدُهُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. With Sijjin, we didn't have that. يَشْهَدُهُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ, witnessed by those brought near. Of course, we know Muqarrabun are different from Abrar or from ordinary Mu'minun. Might have two meanings. First meaning is that Illiyun is at the presence of Muqarrabun. Here, Shuhud means presence, if we take this meaning. This Illiyun is at the presence of Muqarrabun. It is very high, because Muqarrabun are very, very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this Illiyun is somewhere very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something or somewhere close to Allah, and therefore it is at the presence of Muqarrabun. Or Shahada here might mean witness. this is witnessed by muqarrabun. That means muqarrabun would like to look into it. They don't like to look into the book of Sajjin or into the record of the evil people. They don't like to look at it. But this one is something that they like to look at it. They like to read, so to speak, this kitabun marqum. So, not much more is mentioned here about al-liyun. However, since abrar are mentioned here, that their kitab is in al-liyun, the verses turn to discuss the plight of abrar. Innal abrara lafi na'im. Indeed, the pious shall be amid bliss. Na'im is the ni'mah when it is so strong and so abundant that you cannot discern one from another. Then this is called na'im, and the place is called na'im. Jannatu na'im, as we have in many verses, which is the Jannah, the garden of favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a very beautiful expression which is used in the Quran. Here, of course, inna al-abrara lafi na'im, it means in fi jannat na'im, in a garden in which there are abundance of the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this abundance of ni'mah defines that garden. And it's not only a garden in which there are trees and rivers and these things. No, there is abundance of ni'mah in there so that you cannot really count or number those ni'mas. Now, this na'im, they are amid the na'im. Here, of course, na'im is translated as bliss, which would notify the same meaning, the abundance of ni'mah, the abundance of happiness which is there. Alal ara'ik yanzurun, observing as they recline on couches. Arika, usually in Arabic language, especially at that time, arika was a sort of coach which was made for the bride and groom, as usually in some cultures we have nowadays as well, that a coach or a seat or something is made for the bride and groom, and they sit on there with most honorable type of respect. And here it says that all the people in paradise, in that na'im, they sit on these couches of honor. That is honor of being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are honored because they were good. They are honored because of their action, not because of any sort of conventional thing. So they sit on this ara'ik. And why ara'ik is mentioned, and it is mentioned in many other places in the Quran, that the abrar, the good people in paradise, they sit on ara'ik. It's not just to mention where they sit. They don't sit on the floor, for example. They sit on a couch or on a sofa or something like that. No, because arika is a couch which only honored people will sit on it. And therefore, they are always honored by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They feel that they are honored. This is very important. Sometimes Allah may love you or like you, but you do not realize it. Here in paradise, you feel that love coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you. You feel that you are honored by Allah. Whenever you want to sit, it's as though, for example, Allah tells you, no, don't sit there. This is not good. You are a respected person. Sit on this couch, sit on this sofa, for example. So they are sitting on ara'ik and yanzurun, watching, looking on. It's not said, what is it to which they turn their eyes? What is it that they look and they watch? Because there are so many things that, well, the Arabic literature would tell us that the maf'ul is deleted here to notify that I cannot choose one rather than other to tell what are those things that they are watching at. What are those things that they are looking to? There's abundance of things. They are so busy, engaged with looking at the bliss, with looking at the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I cannot count it for you. They're just sitting on the couches, watching like we sit and watch a film or something and enjoy. Of course, there's no lagh or lahv there. You just watch the abundance of ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ يَنْظُرُونَ. I cannot tell you what they are looking onto. However, you would see from their faces that they are looking at something very, very pleasurable. تَعْرِفُ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ نَظْرَةَ النَّعِيمِ. You will perceive in their faces the freshness of that abundance of ni'mah around them. You don't need to see what they are looking at. Just looking into their eyes, looking into their faces, you would realize that they are watching at something very, very exciting, something very pleasurable. So, although the maf'ul in the previous verse is deleted, not telling us what is it that they are looking to, however, in the following verse it says that by looking to their faces, at their faces, you can tell that they are watching something really, really pleasurable, really exciting. So, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. Indeed, the pious shall be amid bliss. عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ يَنْظُرُونَ. Observing as they recline on couches. تَعْرِفُ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ نَظْرَةَ النَّعِيمِ. You will perceive in their faces the freshness of that bounties around them. يُسْقَوْنَ مِنْ رَحِيقٍ مَخْتُومٍ خِتَامُهُ مِسْكٍ وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. Now, it's not only that. It's not only watching the unrepeated favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming minute by minute to them, which makes them so excited, which makes them so happy. They are also served. يُسْقَوْنَ. They don't need to go and take it themselves. They are served again continuously with a sealed wine. Rahiq is a very, very pure wine, usually in Arabic on that day, in Arabic language, a wine which was the purest of all and the most looked after all was called rahiq. So they are served with a sealed wine. يُسْقَوْنَ مِنْ رَحِيقٍ مَخْتُومٍ. It is sealed because usually in this world, as we have discussed several times, these are spoken in our own language. You would seal something which is very pure and you don't want it to be mixed with something impure. You don't want it, you don't want someone to tamper with it, to mix it with something else. So this drink that they will be given, that they are served, is so precious, so pure, that they want it sealed all the time. They want that seal of Allah on it, to know that this purely comes from Allah and it is not mixed with anything else. So it's sealed. يُسْقَوْنَ مِنْ رَحِيقٍ مَخْتُومٍ خِتَامُهُ مِسْكٍ. Now, خِتَامُهُ مِسْكٍ, khitam again might mean seal. So it is sealed not by an ordinary thing by which you seal things in this world. No, it is sealed by musk. And therefore, as you open it, the fragrance of it would please you even before drinking it. Or khitam might mean the end, finishing part. The finishing part of it, when you drink it, and when you come to the end, then the fragrance of musk would come up. Khitamuhu misk. The seal of it, or the end of it, is misk. And I tell you, this is not something that I can explain what this drink or wine, as it's called here, is going to do with you. What type of pleasure, what type of experience is going to give to you. So the only thing I can tell you is that if you want to fight with each other in this world, if you want to compete with each other, because tanafus is fighting over something. وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسَ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. When there is something very precious, you fight each other to snatch it or to own it. to gain it. However, of course, there is no tanafus on these things, as we know, in this world or in the next world, so it's competition. If you want to compete for something in this world, do not compete for worldly issues. Do not compete for money. Do not compete for material things. Compete for this, because I cannot explain to you what is this going to do with you, what type of experience this is going to give you. So وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. For such let the vyers vie. Let those who want to compete with each other compete. It's good to compete on these issues, because this thing is not going to be given to selfish people, to arrogant people, to those who fight for selfish things. This is given for selfless people. If you want to compete for this, you have to compete in selflessness. You have to compete in good things. This is the way you can compete with each other for this, not as people compete for this world, fighting each other, taking each other's rights. Of course, that's a different type of competition. And this is just like the verses that we have in other surahs of the Quran, like سَابِقُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. If you want to compete, if you want to go ahead of each other, compete to gain maghfirah of your Lord. So do good, because that's the only way the maghfirah of your Lord would come to you. So, why this verse is mentioned here? فِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. For such let the vyers vie. Because I cannot explain correctly and in an explanation which would give you the full picture what this type of situation is. But I can tell you, if you want to compete for anything, compete for this. This is something that you would realize, experience later on, which is worth the whole life, is worth everything. And just to mention that when Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam was dying on his deathbed, no one knows what he saw when he was just before, the moment before he was taken, his soul was taken. He said, he recited this verse, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسَ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. Or the other verse, لِمِثْلِ هَذَا فَلْيَعْمَلِ الْعَامِلُونَ. For such a thing, for something like this, you have to strive, not something less than that. And we don't know what was he shown on that moment, but this is what he said. لِمِثْلِ هَذَا فَلْيَعْمَلِ الْعَامِلُونَ. Or وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسَ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. Now again, let me explain a bit more about this wine or drink that you are going to be given. So it's not just alcoholic wine that we drink in this world. Let me describe for you a bit more what type of wine is this. Why wine is mentioned? Because wine has that quality of giving human beings ecstasy in this world, excitement, giving them an experience which is different from ordinary bodily experience in this world. That's why the word is taken to denote that spiritual excitement in paradise when you are served with that wine. So it's not only, as I mentioned, it's not only the bliss, the happiness, the bounties of the abundance of the bounties of food, fruit, whatever you want, palaces. It's not only that. You get such a drink which gives you minute after minute, day after day, new spiritual excitements, new spiritual experience. Now, here there is a very beautiful expression of this type of drink which is given to you in paradise. وَمِزَاجُهُ مِن تَسْنِيمٍ. This very, very pure drink, this rahiq, is mixed with something. There are probably drops of some very favorable drink, which of course is not for you to drink. But you get a flavor of that in this rahiq, in this bottle of sealed rahiq. You will get it inside it. مِزَاجُهُ min tasneem, and it is seasoned, it's mixed, there is a mixture, there is a seasoning in that wine, which is from tasneem. Now, what is tasneem? Tasneem is a spring in paradise, which of course Abrar have no access to. Even if they want to go and drink from tasneem, they cannot do it. They would not, of course, desire even to go, because they know that is not their cup, that is not their caliber to go and drink from tasneem. However, they know that if they are given one drop of that tasneem, Allah knows what experience they will receive from it, what spiritual experience, because this is, tasneem is a spring where those brought near drink from. Aynan yashrabu bihal muqarrabun. This tasneem is a spring, a river, from which the muqarrabun drink. And of course, they don't need rahiq. Muqarrabun, they don't need rahiqun makhtum, because they have something with much higher quality to drink, and that is tasneem. Tasneem, as of course is mentioned here, is the name of a spring in paradise. However, the root of the word, which is sanama or sanam, means highness, elevation. So this is an elevated place in paradise from which this river flows. And you get flavor of that river, drinking that type of the water which flows from that spring in this rahiqun makhtum. So your experience is mixed with the experience of muqarrabun there as well. However, of course, as I said, as is mentioned in Surah Ar-Rahman, as is mentioned in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, these are completely two different places, where the muqarrabun go and where the abrar go, where the ordinary mu'minun go. And they drink different things, they eat different things. The experience of drinking and eating is very different there. And one very important thing when we come to explanation and description of Jannah is that there the boundary between physical and spiritual almost fades and goes away. You get spiritual experience from your eating and drinking as well. Of course, the mystics, the Urafa, say that in whatever you do, you taste, you experience there is experience of everything. There is joy, every type of joy. You eat something, you get the experience of pleasure of taste, pleasure of vision, pleasure of a spiritual experience. Everything, there is a merger between physical and spiritual there. And therefore, by drinking something, like for example, drinking the water which flows from the spring of tasneem, you get the experience of muqarrabun there, the way they experience Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some flavor of it at least. Certainly, of course, the experience of Allah in paradise by muqarrabun is very different from the experience of ordinary people. And of course, this would tell us that really to do the minimum, to acquire the minimum requirement to go to paradise is not enough if you are wise people. We have to try to go to higher places, because that is our eternity. And the experiences are very different. The honor, the respect, the type of love that we receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there is very different. Anyhow, this rahiqun makhtum, this drink which is given to them, is mixed, is seasoned with a few drops of something, some water or some wine or drink which flows in tasneem, which is a river special for muqarrabun to drink from. وَمِزَاجُهُ مِنْ تَسْنِيمٍ أَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. Okay, so far, these explanations. Then it comes to earth now. Now we were taken to the heavens, to paradise descriptions. Now again we come back down to earth. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا كَانُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَضْحَكُونَ. Indeed, the guilty used to laugh at the faithful. Now, look the contrast now. Now the faithful are described to be in such a position And look what they have in this world. People are laughing at them, criticizing them, dubbing them to be ignorant, uncultured, uneducated people. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا كَانُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَضْحَكُونَ. Indeed, the guilty used to laugh at the faithful. وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِهِمْ يَتَغَامَزُونَ. And when they passed them by, they would wink at each other to ridicule them, to say that, look at them, these are the people who believe in such funny things about life after death. وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِهِمْ يَتَغَامَزُونَ وَإِذَا انْقَلَبُوا إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِمْ انْقَلَبُوا فَكِهِينَ. And when they returned to their folks, they would return rejoicing. Rejoicing here means that just gossiping and talking about them, laughing. You know what I just saw in the streets? I saw these people who believe in God, and they were talking like that. How funny they are, how ignorant these people are. All the time talking about it. وَإِذَا انْقَلَبُوا إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِمْ انْقَلَبُوا فَكِهِينَ. Of course, this is the very core of the situation in which the mu'minun were in Mecca. And of course, later on in Medina, if we bring Munafiqun in, as we have in tradition, both Sunni and Shia say that once Amirul Mu'mineen and some of his companions were passing by some Munafiqun, and the Munafiqun, after going to their private meeting, they started to rejoice and talking about Ali and the way he is fooled and following this Prophet blindfoldedly in a very, very strict way. So these verses were revealed. But although in Sunni and Shiite traditions it is recorded from many different chains, but then we have to take these ayat to be to have revealed in Medina rather than in Mecca, while the surah doesn't go in that vein, although, as we said at the beginning, Waylun lil Mutaffiffeen was revealed just at the beginning of the arrival of the Prophet to Medina, where there was this habit of cheating in buying and selling less than, giving less than what they had to give. So it is supported by the fact that the surah completely was revealed right just at the beginning of the arrival of Prophet in Medina. So it goes with the tradition that the Munafiqun were actually looking at Ali ibn Abi Talib and saying that these are that type of people. Anyhow, وَإِذَا انْقَلَبُوا إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِمْ انْقَلَبُوا فَكِهِينَ وَإِذَا رَأَوْهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ لَضَالُونَ. And when they saw them, they would say, indeed, those are the astray, those are the ones who are ignorant, not even saying with to each other, they just can say to themselves, whenever they see them, they think that these are the ignorant people, we are the educated people, we are the cultured people. And this situation, which you see in this world, then decipher it to the situation in the next world. Just pass through the veils and see what type of distinction you would see, what type of difference you would see. Now, فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ. Now there's another verse, وَمَا أُرْسِلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ حَافِظِينَ. Though they were not sent to watch over them. They say all these things, they are astray, they don't know, they are ignorant. Well, have we sent them to watch over them, to look after them, to be guardians over them? Of course not. So why they don't leave them alone they have their view, and you have your own view. فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنَ الْكُفَّارِ يَضْحَكُونَ. So today the faithful will laugh at the faithless. عَلَى الْأَرَائِكَ يَنْظُرُونَ. Observing from their couches. Of course, they are sitting on their couches. Of course, now, since the story of kuffar are in, they are watching something different. Not at the bounties which are in paradise. They are now watching through the distance, watching the hell, seeing the plight of these people in hell. And Still they are on their couches of honor. على الأرائك ينظرون هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون. Have the faithless been requited for what they used to do? Now, there's one question here which is very important. Why the mu'minun should laugh at the misery of these people who are in the hell? Of course, they have done wrong, they have been mistaken, and they have brought this misery upon themselves, but it is not right to laugh at the misery of people while they have ended in misery. So what's the meaning of فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنَ الْكُفَّارِ يَضْحَكُونَ? Today, those who believe would laugh at the faithless. Some actually say that, well, this is a sort of symmetry in or reciprocation in situation, because it is said that in this world, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا كَانُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَضْحَكُونَ. The guilty used to laugh at the faithful. And this laughter was because they saw that, well, these are very ignorant, these are very silly. What does it mean? It's just like, for example, when someone says something surprising or silly, you just laugh. And these people, these kuffar, really thought that these mu'minun are very silly. They believe in very odd things. They believe in life after death, and they used to laugh. Now, here, the kuffar, the mu'minun are seeing something very odd, and that is the way these people have ended in the hell. Now, in one tradition, it is said that why the mu'minun laugh at kuffar is because they see something very strange when they look into the hell. And we know that the mu'minun in paradise have this ability to look into the hell whenever they want. And as is said here, عَلَى الْأَرَائِكَ يَنْظُرُونَ, from their own couches where they are sitting in paradise, they just can look through the distance and see the hell and see these people what they are doing. Now, it is said that while they are in hell, all the time a gateway outside the hell appears to them. And they rush to go out of the hell. And suddenly the gate is closed. And they do it in such a funny way that people who are watching from the paradise, they just laugh. They cannot stop laughing. The way this happens, there is a gateway, they rush to go out, and then suddenly the gate disappears. And it's done in such a funny way that they laugh. Now, the hadith is not very authentic, but it's not something which we cannot accept content-wise, because this is actually the other side of what kuffar are doing in this world. What we do in this world is that there is a gateway for us, that's our hearts, to go to paradise, to go to our Lord, to experience our Lord. There is that gateway. And however, and there are all the time hints, signs, prophets, preachers coming, telling us, go, take yourself out of this misery. And still we close this gate to ourselves. And this is somehow reflected in the way the people live in the hell. So it becomes very funny when they look at it. And apart from that, apart from this sort of reciprocation which we have in these verses, apart from it, why these people did not understand, why these people still do very funny things in the hell. And it shows that they still do very funny things in the hell. Otherwise, it's not just laughing of being happy with other people's misery. It's just seeing that whatever they do in the hell is so funny. The way they want to come out of that plight. The way they call their Lord is so funny. You see sometimes, you see funny things from people in this world that, for example, they never have experienced faith or anything, and then they want to talk about faith, they want to talk about God, and you just laugh with yourself at what these people are saying. They don't know what they are saying. And we know that people in the hell all the time call their Lord. Rabbana akhrijna minha, oh God, bring us out of this place, bring us out of this misery. Why the Lord does not answer them? Because that is not the way to call him with those dirty hearts. So the way they do these things is so funny that whenever these people look at them, they really laugh. So it is not laughing at misery of people in the hell, it's laughing at the way they do things, the way they face their destiny, and the way they call their Lord. So فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنَ الْكُفَّارِ يَضْحَكُونَ. So today the faithful laugh at the faithless, observing from their coaches, and have the faithless been requited for what they used to do. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. We'll now have question and answers if there are any questions on the ladies' side. Anyone on the gents' side? Yeah, come on.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum as-salam.
You mentioned that even in this world we can actually witness Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that true? Or
Yes, I mean the witness of the heart, as the Prophet, for example, peace be on him, witnessed by his heart, as mu'minun witnessed by their hearts, the presence of Allah at least, if not his attributes and qualities. Yes.
so it is possible.
Oh yes, of course. It's obvious, yeah.
So how can you achieve that status? Like,
Just follow the Quran, inshallah, yeah. Yeah, inshallah.
Any questions on the ladies' side? Any other gents?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Thank you very much for your lecture. Sheikh, you know the wine that we speak about in heaven, what is the nature of it in the sense that, is it something that enhances our experience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or is it, as some of the mystics say, actually the entry of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within us when we drink it?
Well, if we speak that language, then we are on the verge of talking about incarnation and these things, entry of Allah. Even when mystics speak of entry of Allah, probably they mean entry of the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of course Allah is completely distinct from his creation. Here in the hereafter in paradise, completely distinct from his creation. So yes, it is entry of the knowledge of Allah. It is strengthening of the presence of Allah, the feeling of that presence, of course, because Allah is always present. His presence is so strong that nothing can be stronger than that. But the feeling of that presence. So that's why the word wine is used. As I say, it's not an alcoholic type of thing. Because in this world, what we know of wine is that type of excitement that it gives to people. And the experience is taken to be used for other type of experience, that excitement which comes through the experience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what it gives us probably is closer experience, different experience, new experience of Allah's presence. Not rather than, of course, Allah, that type of thing would be, of course, incarnation of Allah, which is completely unacceptable to Shiite theology at least.
Any questions on the ladies' side? Safras?
Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, I'm still having difficulty getting my head around this wine because in this world we consider it najis, not just haram. And we laugh at Muslimun sometimes when they have functions and they have non-alcoholic champagne and non-alcoholic wine, and we wonder why do they have to imitate something which is najis. It's like vegetarian pork. It's not something you find even attractive. So why something which is najis, Allah would use that as an example of something good?
Well, because it's completely two different things. It's not the case that the khamr, which is used in paradise, is najas because the khamr which is used here is najas. If I get your question right, you mean that since this is an abhorrible najas thing, why the same word is used? Why is the same term is used?
Because
why?
here we're indoctrinated into considering it najis. I mean, if it touches you, you really feel disgusted, you want to wash yourself. So we're indoctrinated into not even liking it or thinking anything positive about it.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden we're saying, oh, in this case, it's okay.
So what other term should have been used,
I don't
for
know.
example?
It's like saying, you know, cocaine, which is good for you as opposed to bad for you, or something else. You know, these don't correlate with
The
us.
point is that nothing would have implied the notion that Allah wants to tell us here. That excitement, which only in this world comes through wine. For example, you couldn't say that Allah will give you an orange juice which would give you that excitement, because of course that excitement wouldn't come through orange juice in this world. We do not know about it. So the term khamr is used, anharum min khamrin ladhatan lisharibin. So khamr is used because we know that there is something in it which is not in orange juice or which is not in water or something like that. That particular quality is meant to be conveyed and transferred to us, the excitement of it. And that's why it's used. So, but we should know that, of course, that's a different thing.
And frankly, most of us we've never known that excitement because we don't know. The only people who would know it are
Well,
people
we
who
have
tried
heard,
it.
we have heard about it. Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, uncle.
Sheikh, this surah describes as one kind of activity that will be in Jannah, about the believers sitting in the couch and observing something and having having pleasant of seeing something. Are there any other kind of activities that are described, or all the activities?
You have no time for other activities, I tell you.
So all these.
You are so busy in paradise that all the time, despite eternal life, you say, I have no time, sorry.
So will all this be in a communal kind of gathering or individually?
Yeah,
as well?
both. You have private times, you have communal times. I mean, there is pleasure of everything there, every type of pleasure, every type of situation, as it's described in the Quran.
Come on.
You mentioned that in the hereafter, the physical and spiritual realm will combine together. So whatever you eat, whatever you drink will actually affect you spiritually as well, in a good way. And so does this exist in this world, like, you know, the spring of Prophet Khidr, that you drink and you get eternal life or whatever?
Well, if you know the address, tell me. I will tell you later after I've drank from it. Well, this is a mythical thing, the spring of Prophet Khidr. So I think we shouldn't discuss it here. But in this world as well, there are effects. For example, people drinking wine or eating pork or eating najas thing, there is an effect on their spirituality. Eating pure food, halal food, there is an effect on their spirituality, but it's not as strong as what you see in paradise. There is a direct effect. You feel the spiritual pleasure in your eating, you feel the spiritual pleasure in your drinking. So everything is merged there. Because the human being is completely different there. I mean, you go to a new body, you have new realm, you are in Nash'atul Akhirah. And Nash'atul Akhirah, as we have discussed, is completely different from Nash'atul Dunya.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we'll stop there. Thank you very much.